Spent kind of getting back on a normal, kind of a normal week here. Playing Saturday to Saturday, so it's good to be on a regular season kind of routine here, and hopefully that'll make it a productive week for us all the way around. Coaches, players, film study, preparation, meetings, all the above. So, you know, all looking forward to this week and already the start of it. I feel like we're on a good schedule here. Richmond's an impressive team to watch. Coach Huseman's done a good job there, and they have a very, experienced staff on the offensive side of the ball, of course, with Russ and his son Jacob, and Coach Wood, Coach Anthony on defense, special teams. They're very sound. They haven't given up in really hardly any big plays defensively. Done a good job in the kicking game, made some plays. They're a good return team. They tackle well, and offensively they have a balanced running game between the quarterback and the running backs, and then mix that in with some play action and getting the ball to receivers, especially guys like Dawson and on some plays, explosive plays that we'll have to defend. So really good program. They've had a lot of success there, and I can see why. And they're a team that when you watch them again, you see the discipline, the toughness, the consistency, down in and down out, over multiple games, certainly last year, but, also the two games this year.
Go ahead and get started. Questions from right here on the right, coach.
Hey, Noah Weisskopf, Target 24/7. I'm curious if you've been able to talk to Chris Holzberg at all about his injury and what he's dealing with, and if you envision him practicing and then playing this weekend.
Yeah, we'll take it day by day. So we didn't practice yesterday, so we'll go out there today and see where he's at, see what he can do.
Front row middle here.
Andrew Jones, Target 24/7. How concerned are you about the offense right now? Maybe what some of the specific concerns you have, and when we see the play calling, how is that reflecting on some of those concerns?
Yeah, I just think we need to do a better job all the way across the board in every area: offense, defense, special teams. There's a lot of room for improvement, and just our fundamentals, our execution. Some cases, our timing. We'll just keep working on that, and I think it's definitely getting better. But we're certainly a long way from where we need to be. And offensively, when you have one negative play, it kind of it's tough to get 10 yards and 3 downs. It's a lot tougher to get it in 2 or sometimes a 1. So avoiding those negative plays and staying out of long yardage, and then converting the ones that we need to convert. All those need to be better, no doubt.
How much do you know what your personnel is? Maybe know what the personnel's capable of. Have you learned a ton the last 2 games, or is it still kind of open-ended?
Yeah, well, it'll be a work in progress for a little while. I think we talked about that last week.
Right behind you.
Yeah, Bill. Brian Murphy with WRAL. Another one about the offense. You've had a couple of explosive plays, obviously, couple of big one on the first drive. But other than that, you've had to kind of chip away. Even the big drive at the end of the first half was, I think, 11 plays, 80 yards. How much do you need to find an explosive player or explosive plays, in the offensive game plan, so you don't have to go 11 plays, 12 plays to get?
Yeah, well, it's always nice when you get it in one play, but to just throw it down there and turn the ball over, I don't think that's the answer. So you have to take those shots when they're there and be able to convert on them. But when they're not, then there are probably better options that we need to take advantage of. So a lot of times you call plays. It just depends a little bit on how it matches up against a certain call, or if you get the matchup you want. You can take advantage of, but that doesn't always happen. And so, defenses get, they got to do their job too, and they don't always make it easy for you. Especially Richmond. Richmond hasn't given up any big plays all year, so they play very, as I said, very sound, very fundamental football. They do a good job of tackling, and they make you earn every yard. So, we'll take them however we can get them.
Front row left. Just one, two, three.
Yeah, Rob Axley, Fayetteville Observer. Going back to watch the tape from the Charlotte game, was there anything that kind of popped off that you didn't notice throughout the game flow there?
No, I think that there was some frustration that we weren't more consistent in our execution in all 3 phases, and we had some things that were really within our control that we could have done a better job of, and so we'll work on those and see if we can eliminate that both on the coaching end and on the playing end, and just have more efficient operation.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's a really competitive situation, and last year none of those guys got a whole lot of carries. When you have Hampton, you feed him, and they did that, and that was obviously the right thing to do. So it's hard to evaluate backs until they get an opportunity to run against real competition and break tackles and can use their run skills. What it looks like in practice is not always the same as in the game when there's live tackling. So we've got a feel for how that's going, but it's very competitive. I have confidence in all of them. They all, have shown a lot of good things, and that's why they've gotten playing time. We'll see how it works itself out.
On the left.
Adam Smith in South Carolina. Bill, with Price Yates, he seemed like an important addition for you guys out of the portal when you got him.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously been out. When do you expect him back? And is this an issue where it's hard to put a timetable on?
It's definitely hard to put a timetable on it. Yep, it's I know that he's working hard to be back, and I know that our medical staff is doing the same thing, and we'll just have to kind of take it day by day and see how things progress. But when he's ready, he'll be ready, and I know he's doing everything he can to be ready, but he just hasn't been cleared yet. Mm-hmm.
Second row here in the middle.
Tom Ashley in South Carolina. Coach Belichick, when you're evaluating guys, and you mentioned it just a second ago, but if you could expound on the level of competition, somebody having success against a Charlotte player versus having success against TCU. How do you and your staff sort of evaluate that when determining, okay, this guy should get more reps, this guy should play more?
Right. Well, again, we can't really control who's on the other side of the ball. Whoever's there is there. We can't do anything about that. I think the big thing we look for is just the execution that our players are doing. Are they running the route at the right depth? Are they using the proper technique to get open? Are they blocking with proper leverage and hand placement and so forth? Are they defeating blocks or covering receivers the way they need to? It could look okay in a certain situation, but it's really not, because it's not being done fundamentally properly, and eventually that's going to get exposed. So we're just really working hard to get better every day at everything we do, and there's certainly been a lot of improvement, but we're not where we need to be, and consistency is a big part of it. And so we'll continue to grind away and work on that. There's no real shortcut to it, but sure, competition's definitely a factor, but we can only control what we can control. And but I think we're doing things right, then we'll be able to compete against good competition. If we don't do them right, then it doesn't really matter probably much of who we're against, so we're going to have some problems.
Right next to him, Coach. Second row.
Hey, Bill, Dave Nathan with the Target Sports Network. I want to ask you about your red zone defense. I think your opponents have been inside the 28 times this year. You forced 2 turnovers and only allowed 1 touchdown. What do you feel like this team needs to keep doing when the field shrinks to be successful?
Well, I mean, I think that's going to vary from team to team. We'll see. How it goes this week. Certainly, Wickersham's had a lot of success down there. I mean, the running quarterbacks, it kind of gives you an extra gap. It's like a wildcat play where they have a gap that you have to defend because there's no handoff. The quarterback can run the ball, or he can't hand it off. We have to defend both, but it'll be challenging in the running game against him. But whatever. And anytime we can create long yardage situations down there, that's always a plus. And we've been able to get some negative plays to get some second or third and longs. And when it's hard enough, like I said, to convert in 3 first down and 10 yards and 3 downs to get 10 yards. But when you got to do 2 for 10 or 1 for 10, especially on a shrinking field in the red area, that just makes it even tougher. So anytime you can get negative plays on early downs and create long yardage, that's a big key. Hopefully we'll be able to continue to do that.
Right here on the right, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Michael Coe, WCHL, Chapelboro.com. Looking at Richmond, their quarterback, Wickersham, seems like a pretty unique player. Obviously uses his legs a lot. He's their leading rusher for 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
He's listed as 6'4", 260 on their roster. How do you go about scouting for a player like that who has a unique body type for the quarterback competition? Or quarterback position?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like a Ben Roethlisberger looking guy. I mean, he's really big, and he's strong. He's a physical runner. He's got stiff arm, long arms, tough guy to tackle, and he's a good downhill runner. So he doesn't shy away from contact. You gotta bring him down. So that'll be a big challenge for us, no doubt about it. But they have a lot of other explosive players too, and that that keeps, gives them a good balance where they can get the ball outside to their skilled players, their running backs, and then he carries it. And I'd say the other thing that's impressive about Richmond is the receivers. They do a great job blocking. And so a lot of times you count on those secondary players to be able to come up and get involved in the run force. They make it really hard for you to do that. They do a great job blocking. Again, the team's very well disciplined and tough. They're physically tough. So that'll be a big challenge for us.
Hey, Coach, from a developmental standpoint, how much progress did you see from the offense last week? And then Richmond has the number 9 defense at the FCS level. How can that serve as a measure of that, say, growth?
One more time about I'm sorry. The first question?
Yeah, so what did you see from the offense? How much progress did you see from the offense last week?
Again, more progress fundamentally. Again, doing more things better, more consistently, not where we need to be yet, but definitely headed on the right track. It was a short week. We didn't have a lot of, contact work. A lot of it was just kind of a carryover from the TCU game, trying to, get ready and get back on again. Hopefully this week with a little more preparation time and fundamental work, we'll be able to continue to make strides there. But, that's up to us. We still have to do it. But, I did think we made some progress, but, hopefully we need to make more, and we need to have more consistency in all 3 areas. But certainly on offense, that's a big key for us is our timing, our execution, and our fundamental play.
Shelby Swanson with the News and Observer. We're talking to some of the special teams players today, obviously position group that you're particularly fond of. I'm curious, like when you came in, just how do you evaluate some of the issues in recent years that special teams have had here in North Carolina? Can you take us through what was your process of just working with them to improve that unit?
Well, when you're not part of a program, which I wasn't up until I got here, it's hard to evaluate what happened before. So trying not to put too much weight on that. I'd say most of our evaluation came from the spring with the players that were here, like Tom and Spencer. And Reese, of course, we got in the portal, at the end of the spring, and he had a lot of good film on tape, and we thought that he could help us, and he certainly has, and I think we'll continue to do that. Tom's been an interesting guy for me. I've never had a rugby punter before, or Aussie punter, whatever you want to call him. So that's been a little bit new. Now he can obviously punt conventionally. We saw that last year, on tape. But in talking to him and his skills, as an Aussie punter, they're really good. And so we wanted to take advantage and utilize those. As I said, he can clearly kick conventionally, but I just think he's even better doing, what he's been doing. So we have adapted our punting system to him, which has actually been good. He's done a great job, and, we've covered well, haven't had a lot of return yards. And so we've been able to, handle the field position there when we've operated it cleanly like we want to. I'm not saying it's been perfect. I'm not saying that, but it was, it's been interesting to do that, and I think it's worked out pretty well. And I said Reese has kicked the ball well, and Spencer's done a nice job. We've adjusted a couple things with him in terms of his blocking and things like that. Maybe a little bit different than what he'd done in the past, and he's done a great job on that too. So all 3 of those guys really helped us, in the Charlotte game with field position, with scoring, and putting the offense and defense in good situations.
2 more here, front row, and then second row.
Mario Dunn with Torreville Tribune. Obviously, you've played a lot of running backs. Is that because one guy hasn't stood out above the others, or is it just a coaching philosophy of playing a lot of running backs? Because I know you've played a lot of running backs in the NFL, and if it's the latter, where do you see the advantages of going at it that way?
Yeah, again, well, none of those players really had very many carries going into the year, and they've gotten some in the early part of the season, so we'll see how all that goes. I've always said if Jim Brown was my running back, I would leave him in the game on every play. I'm not looking for anybody else. So, and they kind of did that with Hampton here last year, which, again, I can certainly understand. I mean, he's a great player. But, we've given the players a chance, and we'll continue to evaluate them. But, we'll see how it turns out. But they're, I think they're all capable. They've all shown some good things and flashes, and I have confidence in all of them. But we'll see how the competition plays out. We've had 2 games, and I think there's some things that have gotten better as you get more game experience and live looks at things, and so we'll take it from there. But I have confidence in all those players.
Didn't you do that a lot in the NFL, play a lot of running backs?
Well, again, I said if I had Jim Brown, I'd play Jim Brown. But I had Barry Sanders, I'd play Barry Sanders. But sometimes there are players that have similar levels of ability, but maybe different skills. When I had Kevin Falk and James White, those guys were very, very good third down backs. Some of them probably the best that have ever played. And so we use them in that role, and we use other players on early downs. So it just kind of depends on what you have and how it fits into your offensive system.
Last one, Brian.
We saw in the locker room after the game, Chancellor Roberts gave you the game ball, and you seemed genuinely happy and gave him a big hug. I wondered about how instrumental he's been in this process that you've gone in for the last 9 months, what your relationship is like with him, and he's been a big defender of football and raising the bar here when it comes to the football program.
Yeah, I can't say enough about Chancellor Roberts and the support he's given and the backing for the program in many, many ways. He's been great, and I've really enjoyed working with him. Chris McClure also in the office, and many of Chancellor Roberts' staff who have been very helpful in the process. So again, it's a new era of college football. There are a lot of new things that we're dealing with, and there are also some changes at Carolina in general, from what I understand. In many things, from the game day presentation to obviously the revenue, NIL, and so forth. So we're kind of working our way through those, but he's been very helpful, supportive, and great all the way. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more from him.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yep. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Like the Jim Brown